Welcome everyone to Unlocking the Power of Grids, Strategies for Effective Data Visualization. We wanted to give you guys a brief primer on Apsona. A lot of people don't know the background of Apsona, but how many of you guys put a 2 in the chat if you actually knew that Apsona is named after the Hindi words for the golden app? So Apsona actually means the golden app. That was the name picked by Sadhna and Sridhar, our founders, years ago. We were about 13 years old. We're sort of like a teenager, I guess, in the Salesforce app system. We've got 1,700 customers, tons of users, tons of partners, and we love just making people's lives easier with their Salesforce data. You can see there, we are consistently rated above 4.5 in the App Exchange rating list, and we support any and all Salesforce data clouds and Salesforce data models. You'll see a couple of some of our favorite customers in various sectors below. And you guys, of course, are also our favorite customers, but we just want to make sure you guys know Apsona serves a broad version of data management and reporting needs for Salesforce customers out there. If you guys have questions about how Apsona could be more effective for you, we would love to hear from you at sales@apsona.com. But today, we are super excited to talk about one of our customers, Alex Christie, who's joined us today. She is an all-star with Apsona, and she shares a lot about how Apsona creates wins for her as an admin, similar to a lot of what other customers are saying about Apsona as well. It's easier and more powerful than Salesforce reporting. It allows me to keep my data quality clean. I get great responsive support from Chad, Barbara, and the team at Apsona. Their office hours are incredible. So just the way that we want to make sure that we're serving our customers and our partners across the world, we love what we do in the Salesforce space. Without further ado, I'll introduce myself. I'm Justin. Great to meet you all. If I saw any of you guys at the DC World Tour today, thank you so much for joining. Excited to hear from you and find out more about your Salesforce needs. I served as Chief Engagement Officer here at Apsona for the last 2 years. And before that, I was an Apsona user. So I was a partner building solutions with Apsona, and I loved it. That's why I came to work here for today. And then I'd like to introduce our other speaker for today. Alex, I'm going to hand it over to you.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Alex Christie. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the Senior Development Manager at the Opportunity Network. I am based in Brooklyn, New York, in my kitchen office. Work from home life is real. I live here with my software developer spouse. And yes, we talk about tables and joins all the time, and our Shiba Inu puppy. She's not actually a puppy. She's 11, but she's a puppy to us. So I'll talk a little bit about what my organization does. We are a college and career prep nonprofit, and we serve students from traditionally underrepresented backgrounds. Our direct service program serves over 1,000 students in the New York City area from the summer before 11th grade to and through college graduation. We also reach tens of thousands more with our career fluency partnerships, where we bring our model to youth serving organizations across the country. So I have a question for everyone here. How many fundraisers or other nonprofit professionals have the phrase, "I wear many hats" in their lexicon? Give me a thumbs up in the chat, put a 1 or nod your head. Is this something that everyone else says from time to time, or is it just me? Either way, yes, I figured there's got to be some of them in the room. Don't have to be shy about it. It's part of what we do. So like probably many of you, my job description is really about 3.5 micro jobs, one of which is being the Salesforce admin for the larger development team. Another one of those is event planning. So Justin, do you want to flip slides so we can talk about what that might entail?
Take it away.
Yeah. So it says not for the faint of heart. So what does event planning entail if you are not familiar with it from the nonprofit side? Events are often, there are their own revenue line on our budget. So there is a revenue goal, and that's where the fundraising piece comes in. So we are trying to attract more donors and sponsors. There's also the production and logistics side of things, which will really translate to your guests having an excellent experience. And then there's the benefits management piece, which is something I will actually talk about a little bit more when I get into grids. Yeah. So any other event planners in the room, in the chat? Give me another thumbs up.
Yeah, give a thumbs up or a 1 in the chat if you have been involved with event planning in some part. Like you can maybe relate to some of what Alex is going to present on today, and maybe have some key questions you have queued up for later on during the call. Sweet. Thanks, Chad. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Arlene. So
Great.
what I hear, so what I hear a lot of times, Alex, is when we talked before, one of the things I love, by the way, is that your LinkedIn profile says, what did it say? Database management specialist. I feel like anytime I'm like hobnobbing or hanging out with somebody, I'm talking about data. And I love that data is in your LinkedIn profile and it's a part of how you create value at your organization. One of the things you shared was a couple scenarios of how you create value and how you're helping your team, all of these end users with their Salesforce data. The first one that we talked about was a deliverables meeting. What is a deliverables meeting?
Sure. So I will get into what, I will talk a little bit about, I am also an annual fun person, so I like to create a nice narrative arc. So I will kind of lead into what that means for us. So as you can imagine from what I told you about my role before, I'm an admin and an end user. If I don't touch a work stream or a pipeline myself, I still see it happen on the back end. So it's my job to understand what's going on so I can make systematic improvements. And many of those improvements are thanks to Apsona. I've been a huge Apsona fan since I discovered it. Hashtag not sponsored, but Justin, we can of course talk about that later. But I can wholeheartedly say that multi-step reports has saved me after coming from a non-Salesforce organization where building one-to-one reports was a huge part of my life. I am always keeping an eye out for what Justin and the team are working on. So when I saw a demo of Grids come across my LinkedIn feed, I thought about what a helpful tool this would be in so many ways, especially around our annual gala. And this is where I'll lead into what our deliverables meetings is in just a moment, because you're probably like, what does that mean? So I saw, I think somewhere around the winter, that there was a 2-week free trial of Grids. And as excited as I was to try it, I have, of course, had that nonprofit mentality of that saving that free trial for the moment I truly needed it. And I knew that that moment would become self-evident. I love getting into the weeds and solving messy data problems, but actually, to my surprise, that moment that I needed Grids came down to a very simple use case, at least from a data perspective. So as it says in the slide, my organization hosts an annual gala, and this year is our 20th anniversary of the organization. So it's a big deal. It's happening on May 3rd, which if you are looking at a calendar, yes, that is less than 2 weeks away now. So we're really in the home stretch. Thank you, Rob. I'll take all the fun and fanfare I can get right now. So in a regular year, there are numerous details to manage. This is the piece I was talking about on that earlier slide with benefits management. So ticket and table counts, sponsor benefits, guest names, what random person wants to sit with another random person, avoiding that terrifying scenario where somebody shows up to this event and you don't have their name and they don't have a seat. That is absolutely what we don't want. And this year we have an ambitious revenue goal and a stacked honorary slate, including Trevor Noah. So there's added volume and pressure for my team and the organization to succeed with this event. So my joke when people tell my team how organized we are is that if we weren't, we would drown in the details. In fact, hopefully I put up enough concealer that you can't tell, but my organization's event sold out and we are expecting around 1,200 guests at this event. So hence I'm a little delirious, but we're making it work. Thank you. So to manage all of these benefits, once a week, my team meets for what we call our deliverables meeting. So hopefully that starts to link things together. So we go over all of our outstanding items from sponsors. When our fundraising first starts in February, these meetings take about 10 minutes. And in the weeks before the event, like now, they can take over 2 hours. So in prior years, the staff person overseeing benefits management would pull a weekly report in Salesforce, export it to Excel, and we would go through sponsorship opportunities line by line to ensure we are following up with donors accordingly. This required exporting the report, formatting, adding columns for last week's notes and this week's notes, doing a VLOOKUP for last week's notes, and when everything was said and done, batch uploading the changes back into Salesforce. However, with Grids, we are able to review the opportunities in line and have really good conversations about deliverables. no VLOOKUP, no import export, no relying on spreadsheets. This is saving us so much time, and it really helps develop a culture of data literacy and integrity. So Justin, if you can hand it over, I will share my screen and show you what this looks like in real time.
I just set up the pitch on that one. This is nice, Alex. No, I think you had me at no more VLOOKUPs.
I mean, I do think that there's going to be a chapter in my autobiography called VLOOKUP Saved My Life. But anytime we don't have to do that, we're in good shape.
All right, sounds great. I can see your screen.
Great. So here is my sandbox, and pardon, you're going to see a lot of this side of my face. Again, that's my work from home setup with my portable monitor over here. So we have on the screen here, we have some dummy data, and we, obviously we're not showing some real information here. Some of this is, so pardon if these look a little funny. I went to a very sophisticated online Salesforce data generator. So hopefully I can pronounce some of these names. If not, just bear with me. So at this time of the year, we have a lot of sponsors who are down to the wire trying to decide whether they're taking their table or not, because a lot of our sponsors are corporate sponsors, and they are new to their companies that are contacts through our board members. And so they might not be super familiar with OpNet. They might just be really interested in a philanthropic donation, or they are trying to decide, like, do we have enough people to kind of fill this table and make a showing at the event. So we are in the thick. This is happening in real time right now, behind the scenes, behind the screens, although I do have my email shut for now. But we're trying to figure out who's using their table. So remember how I said we have 1,200 guests before? Usually this event has between 800 and 1,000. So we are kind of relying on some tables to drop. We want as many people as we can, but we also want to have a great guest experience. And, there are fire codes. We're getting pretty close there. So
sounds like you got Trevor Noah on deck. You've got 1,200 spots. This is the 20th year of doing it, right? So like lots of things, lots of details, and you need to make sure that everybody's sitting beside somebody they know, or the table is a sponsorship. And these are not small amounts, right? 50K, 25K, 10K. You're like lining up all these amounts of money to make sure that they hit your line item. This is like critical fundraising and revenue generation kind of work. And it seems like right now this list is all opportunities, right? So you're managing lots of little details, and you're out, what, 3 weeks out? 3 weeks out from your event.
2 weeks.
2 weeks out. Oh my God, 2 weeks out from your event. So this must be like your command and control central, right? You're just like operating in this space.
And it's become really important to us to have this in Salesforce to really centralize it. I think many, hopefully admins on the call are feeling that sentiment too. So again, we're out of spreadsheets now. So in a situation where we're in this meeting and we are going line by line and talking about who owes us what, we can start to just have, like, this is a live document for us to have, or it's not a doc, it's our data. It's almost a live feed almost for us to be able to have these conversations. So what we kind of do is we go row by row. So let's look at Bombach LLC, again, fake company, I think at least. And so we have here that we are kind of next step that we decided on the last time, or this internal team notes field is kind of a recommendation field. So I know not everybody is going to understand the nuance of our data, but you can look here and see that this amount is $0. I think everybody knows what that means. So, but this is a company that has pledged, they have confirmed that they do plan on supporting, but we don't know how much they're going to donate, whether they're going to take a table or donate it back to OpNet. And the sponsorship level, which is often contingent upon the amount, but sometimes we'll bump somebody up. So this is not something we can calculate with a formula field because or a flow, because we have to make those decisions for real. So this is what we would do in a deliverables meeting. We would go through, we would say, friendly, the recommended next step is a friendly follow-up on a chain. So there's an email chain going on, and I can see what my colleague did, what the last steps were, and then we would literally go through, have a conversation. We see that the recommendation was that friendly follow-up. So we can say our next step is that for here, I'm just going to say, we put a date here just so we have a log of it for 20. We're going to say AC to send friendly email per recommendation. We just abbreviate to confirm table level or let's say attendance, because we're just trying to figure out if they're attending or not.
Yeah, and at some point, it sounds like you guys haven't gotten a follow-up from these folks at all. So whoever's responsible for that relationship, you're trying to drive it forward and be like, is it a go or no go, or is it a minimum? You're sort of like driving that sort of sales or fundraising conversation to get them to commit. But it sounds like you're actually running your meetings using this screen. Does that actually happen in your Zoom calls?
We do. We do Zoom calls, and we do a screen share on this guy. So I'll stop sharing. So that is kind of the first scenario I wanted to talk through, and this could be really useful for like a portfolio review or something like that. So
yeah, fascinating. And I think it makes a lot of sense that you're giving the ability for your team to sort of do this all in one place. You can control all of the columns at the top of the screen. I know you've got some edits available later on, but basically you're bringing your data to bear to where the conversation is, the meeting with your team, making sure that, hey, this deliverables meeting needs to work. We don't need to be in a meeting for 2 hours dead at the end of it, and we can't string a sentence together. We need to get in, see the data, make decisions, have critical conversations, get out. And the fact that your data never has to leave Salesforce because you're updating it in grids is phenomenal. So ready for scenario number 2?
Yep, let's do it.
For any of you guys that have questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A section, and we'll get to them at the very end of the call. So opportunity updates, what's this all about, Alex?
So this is actually very related. It's using the same grid that I just showed you. It is, so all of those communications we're queuing up in that next step column, those have to, those represent action items that have to happen. So we centralize, I believe it said on the last slide that we centralize our all of our benefits through one inbox. And so my colleague Grace, who, bless her heart, any Southerners in the room, they know that phrase. I'm originally from South Carolina, so that was when I heard a lot growing up. Bless Grace's heart, she is just in this inbox all day. And so she needs a really effective way to make these changes. So let's go to, we just have to get these rapid fire responses from sponsors in to Salesforce, because this is how we, track this information and make sure everything is ready, queued up, etc. So going to each opportunity one by one is, even though it isn't, even though that doesn't take a huge amount of time, like when you don't have any time at all, you need to really be as quickly effective as possible. So I can go ahead and share my screen again.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I live out of my inbox in my role as a salesperson for Apsona, and I cannot click on a record and then scroll down the page and then find the field I want to update and then double click on it and save it. I need an inbox, a quick and easy way to take roughly 5 seconds to update a field on an opportunity.
So this is a situation, again, let's say, where were we? This fake company, let's say Grace gets an email and says, it says, we're sorry for the delay. Bombach is confirming our table level. We'd like to sponsor the gala at $10,000. We are planning on using our table. So this is something Grace actually will just have this grid open next, on a screen aside from the inbox. So as soon as that update comes in, she just says, bam, no surfing through the page layout, the opportunity page layout. She just says, okay, $10,000, that it is not a TBD anymore. Oops. It is a table, and that sponsorship level, we're going to say, they are a $10,000 investor. And then that's kind of it. And it seems really simple, but again, that took me approximately 5 seconds. 5 is a lot better than 30, especially if you're having to make, think about how many updates she could be making 100 of these updates a day. So think of how many minutes that saves. So we click save here, and that data's in.
Yeah, so at this point now that the data is updated in Salesforce, if you're looking at a dashboard, maybe if your manager or your fundraising manager, whoever's sort of manning the looking at the line item, saying, how much do we have left to close before we can say this event is fully booked in revenue bookings. They can sort of see that real time, keep that up to date, and Grace is just, like you said, sort of in maintaining that inbox mode and keeping those relationships moving forward. Sorry, I get excited and then I forget to go back to the screen share. So you've got so the text fields on scenario 1 sort of give you a way to see overall, how do I make sure that these deliverable meetings where I'm having it with multiple people in one screen are creating outcomes that are easy to manage. We can all see it together. We can have critical discussions without having to wait for pages to load. Opportunity updates, you need to get that amount field in there, and you need to sort of close quote unquote deals or close commitments, get those commitments clear. Your coworker Grace is essentially using grids to sort of quickly line item update details along the way, and that allows you guys to have decisions for moving forward. Scenario 3, contact additions and updates. This one seems a little more different. This one's more variable. What is this one all about?
Sure. So as I mentioned, a huge portion of our Gala revenue comes from board member outreach, and the bulk of it is business to business relationships. So when we receive an outreach list from a board member, and we know that they are planning on making an ask, we need to create opportunities for these board members contacts. And so a lot of times I just don't have a ton of information. It's really just like name, email, title, company. So as much as I love collecting rich data on folks, it's just not going to happen necessarily for this group. And I don't know about you guys, but my contact page layout is set up to collect all that rich data that we like to get. So one of my solutions here, rather than surfing through contact records, scrolling, is to create a grid that allows for easy batch entry. And Apsona does have a batch entry product, so I didn't want to, I was nervous about sharing this because I didn't want to cut Justin's sales essentially, but he said it was okay to share this and to let people know that this is a plausible solution with that this product offers. So I will share my screen one more time and show you what I call my aptly titled easy contact grid, because I just want to enter exactly the fields that I need for these folks. No need to hunt for fields. So this is Joe Doe. I created him earlier. So all I do, I add a row. It populates from the last person you entered. Oops, there's my dash lane. I thought I turned that off. Mm-hmm. Always with the password managers. So this, though, actually, you do have to program yourself to the auto populate, but sometimes it's actually really helpful, because a lot of times I'm doing one board members lists at a time. So I'll show you in a minute. I'll explain in a minute, but I actually like the auto populate feature. So let's just say all I have on this contact is that her name is Jane, Jane Smith. She works for, oops, now everybody's looking at Dashlane again. Pause until I turn it back on. I don't want to see you here.
That's
so
okay.
let's just say.
I remember we were talking about loving solving problems live on webinars.
If that's the worst thing that happens, I mean, the fact that the UPS man hasn't come by and my dog hasn't thrown a fit is a miracle. And if it happens, it is what it is. But let's say Jane's email is js at, I'm just going to say google.org. It's a sandbox. And so this contact refer, this field is really critical for us. We use this in so many different reports because Alex Chi, who is a fake person, most likely, I was looking for Alex Christie, and I don't actually, and this is a partial sandbox, so I don't exist here, funny enough. But let's say Alex Chi is a board member. We want to connect everybody to the board member, so we can easily pull a list of the contacts and their opportunities to show the board members kind of like how their fundraising is going. So we really need to be able to tie Jane Smith to Alex Chi. So that's what this contact refer field is for. And that again is why I like this auto populate, because I can just kind of tab through. we have this checkbox that is, if we expand that a little bit, it actually is a really, let's see, no, it's fine. This is our checkbox that shows that this is a Gala prospect. I'm actually going to uncheck this for now. Let's pretend that this didn't auto-populate and that I forgot it, because I'm going to show you something in a minute. We can say that he works for Price. Don't know what that is. It's a fake name. And we can see here that I said we actually know that he's an SVP at Price, so we can actually save here. We want to update this is why this is better than importing and exporting for me, because I forget to add fields all the time when I import. And so you can just go to your grids admin and you can edit your grid. Here you have so many fields that you can add. You filter, it's like pulling a report. This is one of my favorite filters because I, again, I'm a fast typer. I love data integrity, and I'm also a typo queen, or I forget entire fields to import or to add. So I love this filter. Just this is my secret life hack. If there's a created by, and you can add yourself, I use this all the time just to go through what I've done that day. But anyway, getting back to the fields in the grid. So I noticed that I forgot to add title in there. So I can just add that here by primary affiliation. We save our changes. And then we refresh our grid. Hopefully that pushes through really quickly. Yep. So now we have title. I can add and go back to Jane's row and say that she's the SVP here. We hit save.
Get the tab off of that one field.
Oh yeah, and we're done.
There you go.
Nice, nice, easy.
Yeah.
So see how, just imagine having to do maybe at 30 you're importing, but if you're doing 10 and you just don't want to set up that import file, this is going to take a lot less time. Highly recommend. Again, not a complicated data, not a messy data scenario, but it's still just so helpful. And I kind of can't wait after my joke is on May 4th, I'm going to design, I'll stop sharing now, but I'm really looking.
Could you go back to that screen?
Oh yeah, sure.
You said you were looking forward to something. What were you looking forward to after May 4th?
After May 4th, I was going to say that I was looking forward to building out, kind of similar grids to this deliverables report for, kind of like a major gift portfolio review. How many of you here have a major gift officer at your organization? Nod, throw, some people are off camera, throw something in, thumbs up, nod. How many of you love your major gift officers and respect the work they do? And how many of you have a major gift officer that's out in the field taking meetings and doesn't really have a lot of time to update their contact reports in Salesforce? Yeah, right. Not their fault. So we need to make it really easy for them. So I'm really looking forward to setting up a grid where we can kind of go line by line and we can do portfolio reviews if similar to the fields we have here, if somebody's going from a cultivation to a solicitation stage, if an ask has gone out, we just talk through it, we flip it, we move on with our day. That data is in Salesforce and we can have live conversations about what's been going on there. So, and in fact, I'm not an MGO, but I do run our annual fund campaign. And I am guilty of not putting my own contact reports in Salesforce, even though I designed a lot of these systems. So one of my favorite quotes from the great Meadow Soprano is, sometimes we are all hypocrites. So I'm going to use this to keep myself a little more accountable for my own work and for my users as well. Justin, is there anything else you wanted to see on my screen here, or should I pass it back over?
Yeah, so if we could go to the easy contact, you and I have talked a little bit about this as we did our presentation prep earlier. One of the things you referenced is, you're using this to sort of just mass clean up your data. So
that's right.
So some things all right, you forget a field, you can pull open that, you can add that field quickly as one of the columns here. Right. And then you also referenced the tools menu. What are your sort of general uses for this tools menu when you're doing that? You're in go mode, you have 15 days until the event. So as you're adding all this contact data in Salesforce, how do you use these tools?
And in fact, I forgot to come back to the thing that I said I was going to come back to, which just shows where my brain is. I blame it on Gala, or it might just be my brain in general, but it's very convenient to blame Gala for everything, of course. But we have our tools, and let's say, real life example, this checkbox that says somebody's a Gala, or here we have our long column name, but somebody's a contact for the Gala. And I forgot this field. I add it back into my grid and it is unchecked. So I just go to, you can check this box if you only want to update one record, or you can, just defaults to update all. You can say update all, and you can just see I forgot this checkbox. And I'm moving my all my Zoom features around. So you just apply it and it updates. Did it update? Did I check yes? Let's save. Oh, I updated it for no, but you get the idea, right?
Yeah, so like imagine, so right now with the sandbox data, you've only got like a handful of records, but essentially you've got hundreds or at least 10s and 20s of records. And if you forget a key field, you can go back, click, update, click, update. And this applies to any and all data, but you're in a constant sort of get data in, qualify that data, make sure it's clean and useful and helpful immediately as you're applying towards this grants or this Gala deadline. So I just see it like, as you get closer and closer to this deadline, data becomes more and more important. If you start slipping and data starts becoming less important, that's the moment that your users are going to use dataware. They're going to be like, well, I don't trust that. Let me maintain my own spreadsheet. And you're like, no, if the data is in Salesforce and it's up to date, this is like this litany of tools that gives you a way to quickly update the data, maybe give it to your MGO, your major gift officer, in a way that they don't have to sort of go to Salesforce. So this tab that you're on right now, this Chrome tab, is essentially its own page, right? So you can embed this tab anywhere you want. You can put it on a tab in Salesforce. You can give it directly to a user, but they can sort of get to a place where you're designing their data entry points and then updating it live, getting it up to date quickly.
So
Exactly.
I'm just going to jump in. We do have a question, and it kind of goes along with this, I think. Katie had asked, how is this better than using list view in Salesforce and selecting specific opportunity fields that you want to view and edit? What are your thoughts from your perspective, Alex, as to why you would use this versus list views?
Yeah, and I think I'm going to pass it to Justin in a second, but in general, I think, I actually just kind of in many ways prefer the Apsona. I love Salesforce, but I prefer the Apsona interface. It's just a lot easier, but also you just have more flexibility with the fields you're able to select and that you're able to edit. I find list views a little clunkier. They're great, but to me, this is just much faster, much more user-friendly. People kind of, it just like lends itself much more to that really like kind of spreadsheet like interface that a lot of people, especially that aren't admins, are useful. I find it, I've tried to, I know, right? Who wants to, that's just too real, right, Lori? Yeah, I, especially like as admins, I think we are thinking in, something like a list view, but our users, like I have a lot of, anytime I build a list view for a user, they don't want to use it. So, bless everyone who has users that do, but mine certainly prefer this.
Thanks. I really appreciate that. I also augmented what you just said with a blog post that we had that compares Salesforce list views to Apsona Grids and what some of the advantages are. And some of the things you just mentioned are in there. So thank you.
Oh, great. Hopefully I didn't say anything that was totally misrepresentative, but I have a feeling that it would be pretty in line with that. I haven't seen that blog post myself, so.
Yeah, I think this is solid. And mostly I love the fact that Alex, you're doing the live work with your team, not quote unquote in the field, but actually like with people that need help. So the consistent question from folks all the time is, well, I'm not going to go update that Salesforce because it takes too gosh darn long and I hate using it and it's hard to use. But when you're saying, hey, you go to your major gift officer, you go to someone in particular, and then you're showing them, hey, let me make this custom spreadsheet view for you just so that it has the data you want. You can create as many grids as you want. So you can create a grid for Bob, for Jane, for Harry. You have a bunch for yourself you're using. You have one for Grace that she's using. So it's sort of very portable. I just see you like resourcing your team with almost like, hey, show me the Excel spreadsheet you want to use. You take that Excel spreadsheet, you build it as a grid, you give them a custom tab for it, and then they're off to the races, and you've made them faster. Like you've reduced their time, you've reduced their headaches. Hopefully they're not crying in a corner somewhere by the night of gala eve, and you're actually like helping your team be successful with Salesforce and Apsona. This is solid.
Yeah. I mean, I have like, thank you guys at Apsona, because some of my users think I'm kind of a genius because of things really like simple data structure, like things that took me 10 minutes to set up in grids. Like I should never tell them that it took me 10 minutes because they think I'm really like smart for setting this up. So you guys have set me up for great success, and I will keep alluding to my colleague Grace, who I would have loved to have her join me, but she is in that inbox right now. But when I first introduced her to grids, she literally said that I'm having the time in my life with this, because she just like built all these grids to clean up, all those, like, we all have those lists of what we call it at OpNet summer projects, which are the like boring data cleanup projects that we're never going to get to, and we think we're going to do them in the summer, but instead we find other things we want to do, or we ignore them. That's at least me. All those dream projects that she, we all kept putting off, she just like went bam, bam, bam. And our data is so much cleaner now. So.
Yeah, solid. So, Alex, this is phenomenal. I know that we're sort of at the end of our presentation. We've covered sort of 3 scenarios that you're using Apsona Grids for today. 14, 15 days away from go live on a gala. That includes 1,200 people and Trevor Noah, by the way. I mean, if I knew Trevor Noah was in it, I might have tried to like swing a ticket up there somehow. But
yeah,
I am just excited to hear how you're being successful. For the crowd that's here and available, there's a couple questions that have come through the chat, and I know we've responded to a couple of them. I have a Grid Sandbox org open as well. So if there's I see that the first question that's come up from Lori is just around, is there any documentation comparing grids to what we call the tabular view functionality? You know what? Let me get to Lori's first question. I think Lori actually has a question more for you, Alex. It is, did you already respond to this one? Let me just ask. How do you manage that user who wants to print a list? I'm just curious if you've gotten that in any of your grids related sort of back and forth, Alex.
How do you manage that user who wants to print a list?
Yeah, like real time, like from the trenches. Let's say somebody's like, hey, can I get that printout from you? Curious how you handle those requests.
It's like, as technical as this, being an admin and being a development operations person is, I find a lot of my job is actually managing expectations. So this is definitely more of like, I wish I had a great like data answer, but I think that part of it is building trust. And I think there might be a point where you're using grids and like maybe printing a list and like eventually trying to move, I find users that like those printed lists that you really have to take baby steps and take the small wins, and that eventually you might get them there. And sometimes you have to print the damn list, and but ideally with time you can kind of get people away from that. I consider any of those small wins huge. So that's not the magic answer. I wish I could just tell them, no, I'm not printing your list, but we know that doesn't go, and I want to help them. So
yeah,
meet everybody where they are and try and nudge them in the right direction. Yeah, wean them off the printer slowly.
Yeah, and I think it's correct, Laura. I mean, I think it's correct, Alex. Like, you do have the power, right? You are the person that can see the vision for what your team wants to accomplish, and you're the person sitting in the Salesforce captain chair saying, here's what I have available to me to accomplish that mission. So you have sort of your hands on all the controls. Apsona Grids. So I'm going to switch over to my my Grids admin view. Like you referenced, like Grace is creating a bunch of grids. You're creating grids. You can swap them in, swap them out. So you can sort of decide, how do you wean them off of that question, or how do you steer them to a place of saying, I don't need to look at a printout. I can just look at this grid. I can look at this instead and make that easier. So I'm going to reference here, this is our grids admin view. If you guys have questions, welcome to sort of ask questions live real time. We've got the remaining 17 minutes of this hour available, and Alex has graciously said that she can make herself available up until then. So make sure you get your Alex key questions in first as a fundraiser in the field. I'm going to sort of just comment on some of the grids, some of where I see Alex living as an Apsona admin. This grids admin view is where Alex referenced earlier. He's able to sort of pull open different grids, sort of look at them, Clicking on edit gives her the ability to sort of add fields as needed. So again, this is an opportunity grid. So she can grab a number of different fields, pull them in, pull them off. You can lock them or unlock them, i.e. you can sort of make grids visible to people to see and then pull them off the screen. And she had some default filters as well. So she uses her sort of easy contact screen to set those default filters. There's also the ability to do subgrids. So just referencing here, if she wanted to extend and say, hey, let me see some data underneath that contact object and see related objects underneath it, she can include that too if she wanted to. There's a number of subgrids that you can create here. And what that looks like when I actually launch that grid, there's this fancy little direct link button that we can use to launch it. This is, 90,000 sort of records in a grid view, but the ability to sort of see it here with a number of other options. So grids are widely portable, widely flexible, essentially list views. I say list views, but with a bunch of enhancements, and gives you some control on ways that an admin might need to give their data to their team in a very specific manner to sort of help their use case. So Alex, open any comments or chats you have on that, as we're just going to respond to sort of questions along the way. All right, next question. Is there any documentation comparing grids to tabular view functionality in Apsona? And I'm going to reference just sort of a quick overview here. Lori, thanks for asking. Here is on this grids view, I have opportunities, and I actually have 3 different kinds of record types, right? So this is one of the base expectations for list views. List views are always usually chained to a record type. So if you have different record types in your record detail, you can't get all those record types in one list view. And then you can see a number of them on a page and sort of adjust the sort here. That subgrid pops out in here quickly and allows you to quickly add rows, adjust existing rows, or change values along the way as well. So a grid here sort of shows you several child objects. Opportunity for this 219,000 or 2 million opportunity gives you some contact roles that I can adjust and change. I can sort of change field values here as needed. I need to sort of update one of the fields to show a different value. The ability to sort of pop that out in a grid gives you a very specific ability to adjust that. Saving that then allows you to do all of your saving and editing of fields on one screen, on one grid screen, instead of needing to click through and save it on a different screen. I would say grids are very custom. They give your end users at a lower price point the ability to sort of see very select amounts of data and accomplish very specific outcomes. When I go to the Apsona view, here in my Apsona sandbox, this is the one demo org I leave in all the time. If I wanted to see that similar opportunity table view, you see as an admin of Apsona, I have a lot more sort of menu items here. This interface is sometimes a lot more busy, right? If I hover over opportunities and click the opportunities tab, we call this our opportunity profile view. If I hover over the opportunity tab, you see it's loading the 500,000 rough opportunities here. If I hover over this and click the tabular view, it shows effectively a grid view. We call this the tabular view though. This existed first, grids has existed second. And the ability here is very similar to grids, but it's sort of the admin level, i.e. I can click down or drop down here. I see multiple sort of related lists. I can then click down into a related list and get additional related lists. It's almost like the tabular view is what you might give your super users or people that are mass updating and reviewing data. And then the tools menu here on the side also is widely available to admins. Oftentimes from the tabular view, you might want to do a mass update for multiple fields on objects, or you might want to do an import data to Salesforce. Maybe you want to do a merge mail, a document merge directly from Apsona in that view as well. So the tabular view is more like central to sort of the Apsona base product. And then grids is very much saying, hey, we know end users need to see their data, clean up their data, like those summer projects Alex referenced. Grids can be customized and given very specific functionality. And then you can sort of pass that amongst widely to as many users as you need. Whether that's 10 users, 100, 1,000 users at your organization. Thanks for asking. And we've got an anonymous request, and we've got a question here. Curious if grids offers summing rows or other calculation rows. I'm going to just pause it to my Apsona team because I don't remember off the top of my head, but I'm happy to sort of go jump in and see. So does grids offer summing rows or other calculation rows? Go to this option and let's see what we've got. So I've got, you know what, let me go to a simpler grid, just one that's a little easier to sort of manage. I'm going to go to the sales pipeline grid demo. And this is only 72,000 records, right? So that's fewer. At the bottom of the screen here, let's see all these 200 records. I am not sure. I don't think we provide initial calculation fields here within a grid view. More of our summing and
We do
calculation
summing
functions.
for number fields.
Okay. Oh, is it
Yeah,
in the grid?
just-
Is it in the grid demo, or is it in the grid edit?
I think it was
space?
in your previous grid. In the previous, I forget the name of the previous grid that you were on,
Yeah.
but I
Oh,
saw
sure.
it there at the bottom.
Yep. Let me go back to it then. So big grid, 3 op record types. Oh, here we go. It's a little hard to see. Sorry, let me squeeze over to the right. So we've got that amount field. So key to Vijay's comment, at number fields, we do apply the ability to sort of aggregate that data. So you can say, hey, for this, for these first 200 rows on the spreadsheet, so we're not doing this at an aggregate level across all 90,000 records here, i.e. showing that like you can initially sort of see a grids view of lots and lots and lots of data. List views usually time out at 200 rows, then you get another 200, then you have to keep loading. You can see all of your data in a grid. This 98 million reflects, I think, just this initial. I'm not sure if that applies to the first 200 records or the whole set. And then with our Apsona base license, we just call Apsona for Salesforce, we have a number of features that just live in reports. So in Apsona reports, you can create calculated fields till the cows come home. They can be calculations using JavaScript. You can create sum fields, you can create metric fields, first, last, least or highest, averages. There's a lot of functionality that's built within our reporting feature set. Great question. Thank you, Anonymous. Yeah. So thanks, Vijay, for the chime in. Any other comments from Apsona team or Alex?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, I'm always really excited to talk about this stuff. So please feel free, anybody to find me on LinkedIn. I am happy to chat with you starting on May 4th.
Yeah.
And probably not exactly then, because I need to relax. So maybe the week of the 8th.
Yeah, maybe after a good 7-day sabbatical from Gala World.
Yeah.
Great. So I'm not seeing any other questions. Apsona team, flag me if I'm incorrect.
No,
But
I think you're good.
Okay. Well, splendid. Well, let me just sort of end on our final slide here, just for the team or for the attendees. This is our sort of resources and links document. We do have, we'll be posting this video on YouTube. So if you have a key team member or just a colleague that you want to share this with, please do so. I'd also like to reference my extreme thanks to Alex for her willingness to take time out of a very busy schedule to provide this leadership. I think, Alex, admins like you are the ones that are sort of creating real change for both nonprofits, social impact orgs, as well as just any other organization. You see the vision of what's possible. You're able to help connect the vision with what people need Salesforce to do with the reality of tools that are at your disposal. So my hat's off to you. Thank you so much for being with us today and showcasing it. I look forward to seeing you the next time in Salesforce. I'm sorry, in New York and in office hours. So if you guys have questions, do connect with Alex. She is a phenomenal resource, a powerful Salesforce admin. And if you guys have any questions for Apsona, we'd love to have you join us for our office hours or just send us an email at any of the links below.
Yeah, thank you so much, Justin. And thank you to the Apsona team and to everybody tuning in.
Yeah. Alex, good luck with the remaining 14 days. We'll be keeping you in our thoughts and have a great week.
All right, thank you.
All right, see you all, everyone. Cheers.